Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Geraint and I'm here on the island of Tenerife, a beautiful volcanic island, and this is the second installment of my astro adventure here. And this evening I want to show you an iconic and classic rock formation which I found earlier today, and at night it's going to be absolutely beautiful, I just know, so I hope you stay with me for that one. First of all, I need to wait for the sun to go down, and so yeah, I'm going to do a couple of sunset time lapses for you, and then we'll carry on with my astro adventure wandering around the caldera of Tenerife. So come and join me and let's do this together. Well, I'm in Teide National Park. I'm just wandering around the terrain here, and you need good footwear. It's pretty uneven, and talking about footwear, I think I found a pretty good shoe, and it's rather large, but I'm going to try it on for size and see if I fit inside it. One of my locations and compositions is going to be a rock formation called Queen's Shoe. And it's amongst a few rock formations that have evolved over time in this volcanic terrain from previous eruptions and weather erosion. And so I'm going to give you a quick look at the shoe. I'll try and shine a light on it, and then I'll do a composition and see how it comes out like. But it looks pretty cool. Check it out. Well, hi everyone, I'm in the caldera underneath Mount Teide at the moment. I've set up my Canon 6D, and you know, I like my star trails, and so we're going to take a few shots over Mount Teide, getting some star trails, and hopefully we'll have the old summit, which is the Rock de Chinchada, I think it's called, and that is behind me. To my right, your left. We also have a horizon due south, right over there. And so I've got my 50mm camera, Canon 6D, Astro modified, and I'm going to do a few panels of the Orion constellation, and probably do some H alpha as well. And so, yeah, there's some fantastic rock formations which I'll get in the foreground before too long, and meanwhile I'll do some sky shots and get in the Orion Nebula in the position I want it for the foreground, And later on we'll do some more stuff as well within the caldera and Mount Teide and the old summit rock formations behind us. There's a fair bit of traffic still going around, and so I'm trying to avoid all the lights. Hopefully it'll die down a bit as the night gets on. But it's not bad in the caldera here. The temperature is only about 10-11 degrees. There is some snow on the higher ground, but it's not bad, not freezing, so I'm quite thankful for that. And with beautiful dark skies like we have, it's really amazing, this night sky. I can see the winter Milky Way arcing right above me, and yeah, I'll do a wide panorama getting that Milky Way and the Rhine right in the middle of it later on. And so those are my planned shots at the moment. Going to get some sky shots, find some nice compositions, and yeah, I'll show you the shots later on in the vlog. But beautiful here on Tenerife, beautiful. Right, back to my work. Here comes another car. Well folks, I'm just about at the end of getting all my sky shots. I'm just finishing off with some dark frames now, and I'll do some flats with those as well. I've noticed in some of my images that there's some red stuff amongst the Rhine area drifting through the shots, and I think we've got some sand up in the atmosphere. Every now and again we get some storm in the Sahara and it blows across to the Canaries, and it's called the Caldera effect, and I think that's what's happening. So it might be an interesting composition, that sky. I'll find out later once I process it. The sky shots were tracked using my Move Shoot Move Nomad. I quickly set that up because with a laser light in this dark site reserve, you don't want to have it on for prolonged periods, so I quickly did that. And then I used an ISO of 800, an exposure of 60 seconds on f2.8 on the aperture, and I did a few panels, and so I'll stack them to reduce noise later in processing. And I also got the Sony involved in doing some shots as well, and I did some foreground shots because I left it on autofocus, but I was so surprised that it actually focused at infinity pretty well on the rock formations and on the ridges of the lava fields. I was pleasantly surprised. And so yeah, I did a few shots with a Sony, and the foreground shots were ISO 12800, exposed for about 30 seconds, f2.8, and it looked pretty good. And then I also did some sky shots just to see if Sony is picking up some red stuff as well in the night sky. And with the night shots I used ISO 3200, 13-second exposure, because I'm not using a tracker on the Sony, so I was limited on exposure time there, so I wouldn't get any star streaking at f2.8 again. And so yeah, we've got some Sony shots of this caldera and of the rock formations, Mount Teide, and shortly I'm going to move position to the Rock Garcia Cinchado, where I'll do some more foreground stuff and hopefully a nice wide panorama of the winter Milky Way. And so yeah, getting a few decent things imaged here. Hopefully just not too much of that sand in the air to spoil the shot. And that's one reason, by the way, I'm not doing any H alpha just yet, because I don't add any more red stuff to the shot. Well, it's a different story at night here. During the day, there are so many cars and tourists, you can't park anywhere. The place is so congested. But the beauty of being an astrophotographer is that you do your stuff at night and everyone's gone home. About one or two like-minded people like me. But it's a wonderful place. It's fantastic having it all to yourself really to do your night and foreground compositions of the wonderful structures of the rocks behind me, and such a clear night sky. It's been like this for a couple of nights now. It's a great place to be, Tenerife, to do your astro. Not too cold, getting a bit nippy, might put a coat on soon, but let's get on and do some compositions. Brilliant. So I've just meandered over into the Rocks de Garcia, which is a wonderful eruption of volcanic monoliths, and there's one behind me now called God's Finger. It's called Rock Chinchado, and it's going to make for a great composition, and so let's get on with that. Well, here we are at the Rocks de Garcia and Rocks de Chinchado, which are behind me, and these lead up a bit towards Mount Teide and makes for a good foreground. And so for the foreground I've managed to do 2-minute exposures, and also a 1-minute exposure to make the horizon a little bit darker, because the 2-minute ones were making it quite bright, and that's to do that in between cars and lights that were shining onto those rocks. And they're massive, you know, they're huge obelisks, monuments of lava from the old summit. Absolutely fascinating to see and to photograph, and so a great foreground interest here. And so what we've done also is done a panorama of the winter Milky Way, which is currently over the top of these fascinating rocks, and so they will lend themselves nicely to a blend to produce a fantastic composition, hopefully in post later. But it's so many stars in the sky, it's beautiful, and it's hard to see the constellations because all those little stars, there's so many glittering away, it's quite hard to make out the constellations. I can see Mars, you've got Jupiter up there. All the planets are in the sky at some point or other, but they're shining real nice. There's a little bit of cleaner dust, not as much as before, so I'm hoping the sand won't be so evident in this panorama I've done than in my previous one I did with a 50mm Sigma lens. With these shots I've done, I've been using my Canon 6D Astro modded with a 24mm Rokinon lens. It's a bit wider, so I can get more coverage with the lens on the field of view, especially with these big rock monoliths behind me. And so if you want to know how I plan these shots, what helps is using free applications. I use PhotoPills, which has a great augmented reality view of the scene at the time. You can fast forward into the night to see how it's going to look, and to help me get to that scene I use Google Earth. It's a good 3D rendered projection of the terrain, and so you can work out from Google Earth whereabouts will be pretty good to shoot some astro, especially when you look at Stellarium, the third app, knowing where the Milky Way, the constellations and nebula are going to be. And so if you use all three, and all but one is free. Photo bills is not that expensive. May as well get it, do it. Because that really helps my astrophotography. Saves a lot of time and errors, because there's many errors you can make in astrophotography. Believe me. And so, yeah, those applications are a boon, fantastic to employ to help me get to places like this and photograph the beauty of a night sky with great foreground interest as well. The camera, I'll get a bit close with the camera. I just want to show what it's mounted on. So I have a tripod, I level it, and I've got a little pancake rotator disc here, so I don't have to twiddle these little knobs here, which I don't like messing around with. They're difficult to use, so I use a pancake rotator to help. And I can just lock it in once I've pointed the Move Nomad to Polaris with a laser pen. And onto the base of the Move Nomad, I have the Alan Wallace V-mount. And I get it nice and level. And it's handy platform then to put this rotator clicker. And so I can rotate now, and it clicks. Yeah, it makes a little dunk, little dent as it moves 15 or 30 degrees. You can set it on this dial here, but you don't have to guess by looking through the viewfinder or the image screen if you get an overlap, because I know from the degrees here they're standardized and very accurate. And so on the top of this rotator clicker, I have another Alan Wallace V-wedge, and this allows me to angle the camera up to get more of a night sky, but at the same time it keeps that angle of plane level, so it doesn't arc off to the side. And when the move has been going on for a few minutes, sometimes the camera's like that, but this handy little integral turn switch on the Alan Wallace wedge allows you to right it again. And so I really like this simple but effective design, and it's more I think accurate and easier to use than the ball head. There's no lateral play. The only lateral play is on the horizontal plane, so it doesn't tilt, and so that's pretty cool. Okay, so I've done some good compositions of the big rocks. I've had to use shorter exposure times than I'd have liked, but I don't know how the bulb works on the Sony yet. Maybe it's the adapter I'm using. So I've used shorter times, only 30 seconds, which means high ISOs. Might be a noisy image or two there, but I've taken a few to stack to help reduce that. Very serene, very peaceful here. I've got a good few compositions with the Sony, and my night sky is looking real nice. We've got the winter Milky Way arcing over to my left, which is your right, and they're arcing over the rocks, the Garcia and Cinchado, and so they're going to blend very nicely with the foreground compositions I've taken. But what I'll do some Canon 6D night sky stuff. And I'll probably use a H-alpha filter as well, just to bring out more of a nebula. Hopefully there won't be too much of the other red stuff in there, which was the sand from the Sahara, the Kalina effect. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful night here in Tenerife, and so I'm going to make a start on the night sky with a star tracker and the H-alpha filter now. Gorgeous. So, the camera sets up for doing H-alpha. I can use an ISO of 3200, exposure time 3 minutes. Why not? I'm using the Nomad MSM star tracker, so it's all aligned nicely. And so let's go. Hit the timer. There goes the first one. I'll review it in 3 minutes. I will take probably 4 or 5 shots in portrait fashion across the winter Milky Way arc there to try and bring out the nebula regions. Yeah, got some good H-alpha here of Orion and the winter Milky Way. That's the last image I've done, and so I'll incorporate those into my other images of the winter Milky Way with a 24mm Canon camera with a Rokinon lens, and I've also done some 50mm on the Sigma Art lens as well. And while I've been doing the H-alpha, I took the opportunity to do some more shots of this area of the rocks behind me with non-astro-modded Canon 6D. Just some nice 24mm shots of Teide in the background as well. Wind's picking up a bit. I got another destination to go to, and that is going to be a bit of a Martian landscape, I believe. So come join me and see what it looks like. So, what do you think of this landscape? This is like something from Mars. It's called Minas de Jose,